Go on, Luke. Gonna do it. Pow!
So close to like almost throwing up.
To a castle that the building date is not even known of, so it's going to be extremely old.
Now, from what we've heard, a common perception of Ankara from the locals is that it's kind of grey, kind of dull, and a little bit on the boring side.
Incredible view of the entire city from here.
It's really just mind-blowing, actually.
Hoş geldiniz, everyone. Today we will be exploring in and around the old quarter of Turkey's capital, Ankara, and we'll take you on the journey with us. Let's go.
Yes, people, our trip to Turkey would not be complete if we didn't come and check out the capital city, and we're obviously starting today off in the old quarter, as Naomi said, in a place called Hamamunu, and it is incredible. It is so beautiful, winding small streets, plenty to see and plenty to do. Let's go and explore.
Ankara is the second largest city in Turkey, directly after Istanbul, and since we arrived here we have seen little to no tourists, which we find very, very interesting. And I actually did some googling around that, and online it says that Ankara is more used as kind of a connecting point, so for like transportation if you're traveling through the country, but very little tourists actually get off and spend some time in Ankara, and we want to find out why today. So maybe it might be a completely underrated place and deserves a lot more hype. We're gonna see and find out for today, and obviously let you guys know at the end of the video if there is something negative about the city or if it's all just positives.
Now, from what we've heard, a common perception of Ankara from the locals is that it's kind of grey, kind of dull, and a little bit on the boring side when you take into account other cities in Turkey like Istanbul or Izmir, for example. And as Naomi said, we are wandering around here in Ankara, checking the place out, and we're going to definitely try and figure out why that perception exists around Ankara. We've been in Ankara for literally only a handful of hours at the moment, so we're still really just taking it in, and we're going to give you guys our true and honest first impressions of this amazing, from what it looks like, capital city. The old quarter of Ankara is certainly a fascinating place. There's so many different things to do, cafes, restaurants, souvenirs, etc. It definitely gives off a little bit more of a touristic vibe. I'm sure plenty of tourists, any tourists that do come to Ankara, will be passing through this area, and it's actually the first place that we have been so far in Ankara where people are actually trying to pull you into restaurants or their cafe, chai places, etc. So it's interesting. Nonetheless, very, very beautiful area. Have a look. Great souvenir shops, very relaxed cafe atmosphere as well, and you also have amazing open green spaces sort of surrounding the old quarter as well, which gives it a very relaxing vibe. Nature in a big city is always welcome, and it definitely gives it a bit of a unique touch as well. It's kind of when you go to a lot of these sort of large capital cities and areas, a lot of the times you feel like you're sort of trapped within concrete structures, and that's definitely not what it feels like here in the old quarter of Ankara. As you can see, the architecture within the old quarter is really interesting, fascinating. You have a lot of old style buildings, and buildings that definitely look like they have quite a bit of history behind them, and then you also have blended in with these old buildings, you've got brand new businesses, as I said, cafes, restaurants, etc., all built into these gorgeous old buildings. It's really unique. Plenty of open spaces, plenty of vibrancy and creativity. Certainly something that I didn't picture when I had envisioned Ankara in my mind. Lots of open green spaces, and then beautiful panoramic views everywhere you go of this old quarter. It's really amazing.
I feel like it's super interesting here that the type of traditional buildings and traditional culture is kind of tied in with a modern aspect of everything. So you might find like these very, very old looking houses, but then you will have like a super new hipster type of cafe or restaurant in there, which is super interesting to see. I think we haven't seen so many other cities that manage to do that very well.
That's a very true take. I see that as well. There definitely seems to be like an entrepreneurial spirit here in Ankara, and it's great to see. We walked past a university on our way into the old quarter, which was like, seemed to be like a medical university, doctors, surgeons, nurses, etc. studying, and it's great. Plenty of things happening here in the capital city of Turkey. And to be honest, I'm getting a very positive impression so far, just in these last few hours of us wandering around. And I can't wait to show you guys more. Right now, we're walking through sort of the final parts of the old town. You can see we're surrounded by beautiful buildings everywhere. And we're making our way towards Ankara Castle. And there's supposedly some pretty incredible views from up on the castle itself.
We were kind of under the impression that we were nearly out of the old quarter, but the entire way up to the castle of Ankara, so Ankara Kalesi, is like, it's still the old town from what it seems like. Check this out. So you still have all of the kind of old houses, a lot of these beautiful shops everywhere, and you can literally buy everything here that you might need. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's hyper catered to tourists. It's more of like a local type of area from what it seems like, and it's super, super beautiful. In order to get to Ankara Castle, you have to walk through Ankara Gate and Clock Tower. Sorry, there's currently a truck reversing, trying not to get hit. Anyway, so Ankara Clock Tower, I believe, is this one. And then you have Ankara Gate. You can already see kind of the structures and architecture of a castle here. And we also have a sign. Oh, the construction date is not known clearly. Oh, I did not know that.
Just after passing through the gate towards Ankara Castle, and we certainly have stumbled across the tourists that we were looking for, or that we were curious, because I was very curious, because when we came to Ankara, we are staying in sort of a newer part of the town called Kizile, and we're staying in actually a really nice hotel. We decided to book a nice little hotel to stay in called the Grand Sile. It's a nice little place in the newer part of Ankara, and there is no tourists where we are. We haven't stumbled across any yet. Plenty of young locals around our area, but now, since making our way towards the castle, we have seen endless tour groups, Americans, Italians, etc.
Canadians.
So Canadians as well.
Canadian, eh?
Canadian, eh? But let's head more towards the castle itself. Have a little bit of a look here, guys. There's plenty of souvenir stores. There's plenty of music playing, which I don't want to get into the video, obviously, for copyright purposes, but have a look. So many different things that you can be availing of. Bracelets, necklaces. You have the famous Nazar, or the eye.
Ooh, this one's beautiful. I like this.
That is really nice.
With
it's
the
beautiful.
hand.
The Hamza hand and the Nazar eye. Very cool.
Ooh, let's buy something.
Yeah, if you are into, look at the beautiful carpets everywhere as well. just a real contrast, I guess, in Ankara between the old and the new, and it's very apparent here in this city because, as I said, where we are staying, it's definitely very developed, hyper developed. There's big shopping malls, plenty of restaurants, modern restaurants like chain restaurants. There's plenty of restaurants here as well, but they're a little bit more localized, and the buildings here are just insane. So beautiful, so much history behind everywhere we are walking right now. We're even walking at the moment on beautiful cobblestone roads, paved all the way up towards Ankara Castle, and we're surrounded by amazing views of Ankara as well. Makes you realize how big the city is.
Here you can really see the extreme contrast. So we are standing in like probably the oldest part of the city, very, very close to a castle that the building date is not even known of, so it's going to be extremely old. And you can see this hyper modern, hyper developed city just kind of off in the distance. It's insane. I love it.
Oh my god, how beautiful is this?
I cannot believe it. You have an incredible view of the entire city from here. Wow.
It's really just mind-blowing, actually. We basically came in through the door here, made our way up the stone stairwell, and now we are greeted. We're both totally out of breath, but we're greeted by this amazing view. And again, just gives you an idea of just how vast and expansive Ankara is. Wow. It's utterly jaw-dropping, no? Here at the top of the castle, you can see just how multi-dimensional the grounds of the castle itself actually is. Off here in the distance, you have another fortress with a large Turkey flag. Turkey flag. Very, very beautiful. The backdrop surrounding is just out of this world. One of the most beautiful views that we have seen since we arrived in this country. It's truly incredible. Wow.
What is super interesting to see is that in this direction it seems like it's all modern houses and hyper developed areas, even very, very large parks kind of off in the distance. And if you look on the other side down of the castle, it looks like all of the very, very old houses. I think this is probably the area that we walked through on our way up. So it's very old houses, and then in the distance again you have these super developed places. But you can really see from here how large Ankara is. Even there, like obviously you have this entire sea of houses, and even all the way there, Ankara is so big that there's basically houses just all the way to the horizon, and you cannot really even see the end of the city, at least not in close proximity. So it's very, very interesting to be here. What I forgot to say, because usually I mention the cost and the prices of everything that we do in every single video. So in this case, Ankara Castle is completely for free. We didn't pay any entrance or anything. I think today, the entire day, actually, we didn't really spend any money. But if you are interested in what we are spending during the day, as always, we'll leave it down in the description below for you guys to check out.
From up here you have absolutely amazing views over Ankara Central Station and Melike Hatun Mosque as well, including a beautiful water feature that's very close by to Ankara Central Station. This castle was absolutely 100% well worth coming and checking out, just right next to the old quarter of Ankara. Highly, highly recommend you guys to come here and spend some time wandering around this quarter of Ankara. It's simply fantastic.
We walked over to the other side of Ankara Castle, so the opposite side of where we came up, basically, because we are walking towards the water feature that we saw, and we found ourselves to be in a very, very local area and kind of a bazaar type of area. So all the entire street up there kind of seems to be local bazaars. it kind of seems to be like it is more focused on textiles than necessarily fruit or anything like that, at least from what we saw. We walked our way deeper into the local market and we found one of these boxing type of machines, and one of the guys just broke the high score here with 2,800. So Luke feels motivated to break the high score. Go on, Luke. Are you gonna break the high score? Are you gonna do it? Pow! And is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? We're getting closer. No, we're 200 and 240. Are we off? I don't know. How many times can you punch it to get to the new level? Okay, we're gonna give it another try, I think. Go on, Luke. You can do it. and.
I have one more.
Still about 200 off. Luke is doing another one. 3 times. What is it called? 3 times?
3 times lucky.
3 times lucky, right?
Okay.
Get ready.
Come on, Luke. Give it everything.
No, that was bad.
Luke already said it's bad. Oh,
That was bad.
2,300.
I hit it with this part of my hand. It nearly broke my hand. So after that utterly shameful boxing experience, we've made our way down to the mosque that we were looking at not so long ago on Ankara Castle, Melike Hatun Mosque, and it is very beautiful. And actually all around Ankara you have incredibly stunning mosques such as Kocatepe Mosque, and there's a good few more that we need to check out while we're here. But have a look at this beautiful building. The architecture is just simply out of this world. Wow.
I would love to go in, but unfortunately I'm wearing shorts today, so I don't want to be disrespectful. Maybe if we go home and I dress up in like long jeans or something, we can go and visit it.
Yeah, I'm sure we're definitely going to visit a handful of mosques if we do get the chance. We are here for a good few days, but nonetheless, wow, this place is absolutely beautiful. Ankara is a very beautiful and definitely a very underrated city in my opinion. So we made our way to the beautiful Genslick Park, and wow, this water feature here just beside me is amazing. It's a really beautiful green vibrant space with plenty going on. Just have a look. Wow, this water feature is just really mind-blowing, and it actually sort of leads down to an even larger water feature down here as well. We're right next actually to Ankara Central Station, is just somewhere over here on the left of us. And wow, everywhere we go here in Ankara we are just simply blown away, surprised, shocked, stunned, every buzzword you can imagine.
Yeah, I feel like Ankara is one of the first cities in Turkey where we're actually like, we're standing there with an open mouth, just not believing our own eyes. Obviously, like I don't want to get any hate for this, other cities are very, very beautiful as well. But here it really seems like there's so much attention to detail. It's really, really beautiful. It's mixed with old and new. You have so many cultures coming together as well. I think Ankara is so stunning.
Now we're making our way towards the larger water feature as well. And by the way, I totally agree with what Naomi just said. Ankara, you're not going to actually believe it until you have been here. If you haven't checked Ankara out, please do yourself a big favor and add it onto your list of places to come to, because I really can't really properly describe just how amazing this is. Just have a look.
Come on.
I mean, come on.
Come on, man.
Oh, will you look at that? Oh, will you look at that?
First thing I do is I say, would you look at this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Huge water feature. Beautiful from what looks like sort of a I totally lost the word in my mind for what that is. Ferris wheel off in the distance. I was going to call it a carousel. But yeah, have a look. This is crazy, and this is only one of the very many public parks that are scattered all over Ankara. This is really just incredible.
In all honesty, we haven't even seen 1% of Ankara and we're already in love with it. I would definitely put it probably in my top 3 when it comes to larger Turkish cities. Yeah, definitely put it on your list if you haven't already.
Like if you compare Istanbul and Ankara side by side, Istanbul is obviously much more frequented by tourists, and I definitely can see why. Istanbul is a fantastic place, full of incredible things that you can do and plenty of history as well in Istanbul. But Ankara, come on, what are you doing? If you haven't been here but you've been to Istanbul, you're definitely missing out on a whole bunch of Turkish culture. Now guys, I tell you what, we've definitely been walking around for quite a considerable amount of time. We've been spending roughly around 4 or 5 hours now walking around in the blasting sun of Ankara. So what we're going to do, try and find a nice spot to get some nice Turkish food. Let's go. Guys, so we just had the close call, or probably the craziest experience that we've had since we arrived in Turkey. Sorry, I can barely speak because of the adrenaline that I have right now. I'm like so close to like almost throwing up. But we basically took a taxi to our area of Ankara in Kizile, and we wanted to show you guys a little bit of the Kocatepe Mosque, which is a very beautiful mosque here, very close to our hotel. We jumped in the taxi, both of us very excited about showing you guys the rest of the area, and paid the taxi driver, really nice guy. We were actually deep in conversation with him, and we basically left our camera that I'm filming on right now in the back seat of the taxi. Jumped out of the taxi, closed the door. We were like, okay. And then I was like, hold on a second. Where's the camera? I asked Naomi, do you have the camera? She was like, no, why? I was like, because I don't have the camera. Do you have the camera? No, back and forth. And then we realized it was in the back seat of the taxi. Now, luckily enough, Naomi took pictures or footage, camera footage, like B-roll footage of the taxi, so we have the license plate, the registration plate of the taxi. We decided to jump in a taxi and go all the way back to the central station, where everybody in the station, literally all of the people, came together, showed us the right person that we had to talk to. We showed the registration plate. They said, we know who this guy is. He is regularly driving here. We all came together, sat down, and they said he'll be here eventually. And then, literally 30 seconds of sitting there and speaking to these people, the taxi driver pulls up right beside where we originally got the taxi in the first place, and the camera still in the exact same position in the back seat. Wow. That is a very, very lucky close call.
Our faith in humanity is restored. Like, we were trying to ask all of the taxi drivers, they were translating with Google Translate. They are like, yeah, we know this guy, whatever. And then we talked to the supervisor in the train station. He stopped working immediately. He stopped selling tickets and walked out with us. And the guy was just there eating his sandwich. And our GoPro was in the back seat, and he drove us actually again to the Kocatepe Mosque. Obviously we gave him a very generous tip because, oh my god, we were done with life. We were like, okay, we need to empty our savings out basically to buy a new camera. But we are so happy. Like, I cannot believe this faith in humanity is restored.
But now guys, it's very hard to just switch back to like regular shooting mode after something like that happens, but nonetheless, we're going to go and get some food now. This video is probably very long and drawn out. Let's go and get some food because we have not eaten yet, and I think it's coming up to like 5 o'clock in the day or something like that now, so let's go.
So we came to a Döner place called Döner King, which is in our neighborhood of the hotel. Thank God with that camera, to be honest, and we're still both like lost for words and super shocked, but happy with how it turned out. Anyway, I got a dürüm. So it's called Dubai Sosluk Tavuk Dürüm. So it's a chicken dürüm basically. I got an ayran, which is basically the national drink of Turkey. Obviously some of these spicy peppers that we all love so much, and some fries. And Luke got the biggest dürüm on planet Earth.
Look at the size of this thing. It's called a zurna dürüm. And I have absolutely, to be honest, no idea what's inside. But I'm gonna have a little bit of a try. It looks really delicious from the picture. So I basically just ordered it based off of the picture, and I'm gonna give it a try.
It's probably hot.
Wow. That's incredibly tasty. There's definitely doner meat in there, and the fries are really seasoned that came with it as well. And I went for a kind of Coke just to wash it all down. But this is really delicious, and it's the perfect size. It's literally like almost a foot long, and I cannot wait to dive in and try the rest of this. Apparently Ankara is known as well for its doner, so this is what an obvious choice was for us when it came to trying to decide where we were going to eat. Doner it is. Alright people, so that was a very quick and easy bite to eat after what was quite literally a very chaotic day of exploring around Ankara. But nonetheless, faith in humanity has been restored. We got our camera back. We are going to continue making videos after all. We had a fantastic dürüm in Döner King, and Ankara is a fantastic city, to be honest. What do you think?
That dürüm was like the tastiest dürüm I think that I've ever had. It was so juicy, so much sauce on it. The meat was amazing, oh my god. Yep. And let me tell you something, Ankara is so beautiful. I think both of us would probably put it in number 1 or number 2 on our list of places to visit in Turkey. Ankara, put it on your list.
Yeah, I think Ankara for me is definitely in the top 3 cities that we've been so far in Turkey. We have a few more places to check out, but nonetheless guys, if you haven't already subscribed, hit the red subscribe button. We just hit 11,000 subscribers today, so thank you so much for all of your amazing support. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next Ankara video. For now, my name is Luke.
My name is Naomi.
We're the 2 Mad Explorers.
And this is your reminder to keep exploring.
See you in the next video.
Görüşürüz.
Görüşürüz. Bye bye.
Because he had to look at it first.
He know
Yeah, because he had to look at it, because he had to look at this.
You know
and
it